I was talking to an adult gentleman this week. You know, he's in his 40s, might even be flirting with the big 5-0 coming up here soon. And he was telling me, nay, complaining to me about how he's having trouble with Disney Plus's support. He paid for the subscription but didn't get it. So he was just calling their support to get his money back. You know, he was soiled on the subscription, but hey, I want my money from the big mouse. And so he was telling me about how he spent, all these days, all these hours talking to their support just trying to get his money back. And he was explaining this to me over 20 minutes. And over those 20 minutes, I was laughing like the entire time. But if you looked at him, he was being, how do you say this? Serious? I believe the colloquial term is dead ass, right? He was being dead ass for the entire 20 minutes. And so I felt bad. We finished the call, right? 20 minutes expired. And I sat with myself. And I was like, is that a bad thing that I just did? Was I supposed to be laughing the whole time? Because sometimes, right, when your friends tell you these miserable stories, right, of their times when they've been met with hardship, sometimes you're able to laugh together, right? It's kind of like rehashing it, adds levity to the situation, and then you're able to deal with it emotionally. But sometimes you have to read the room, right? You got to know when is it a joking matter and when is it, okay, shut up, sit down, and listen. And unfortunately, I think I applied the first situation to the second situation. Because he was being, very serious and very stern the entire time. But the whole time I was like, because I think life is good, but it sucks sometimes. The way I think about life is like a person with a peanut allergy eating Rocky Road ice cream. It's mostly delicious chocolate ice cream. But sometimes, there's a real challenge you're going to be met with. And it might even kill you. Because those are the nuts. Those are the nuts in the Rocky Road ice cream. Most of it, right? Marshmallows and chocolate, right? It's the two best parts of a s'more. But then, if you have a nut allergy, that's going to take you out. That's going to make an attempt on your life. And that's how I think about life. I feel like the bad stuff's built in. So anytime bad stuff happens, I'm not surprised, right? Like if I go into a Rocky Road ice cream and I have a nut allergy, I'm not going to be surprised when I puff up after I, hear a little crunch. Because I knew what I was getting myself into. I read the ingredients and I'm like, oh yeah, it's got something in there that can kill me. I won't be surprised when it tries to. And that's basically life, right? I look at the ingredients of life and I'm like, yeah, there's some shit in there that could kill me. So I got to be careful, right? Don't go around that shit. And it's the same thing with hardship, right? We don't have to go right to death. We can go with just bad stuff that won't kill you, but it feels bad. I'm not surprised when bad stuff happens because I'm like, oh, that's part of it. It doesn't make it feel any better, but I'm not surprised. So when bad stuff happens, I try to take it in stride. I try to think, well, yeah, that happened, but it was probably gonna happen, right? It's not a surprise that it happened. It just kind of sucks that it did. And that's how I don't understand when people get upset about taxes. I live in California, so a lot of people complain about the taxes here, right? They're like, oh, they're taxing us through the butt. And I'm like, well, what's the logistics of that? Are there some sickos that would enjoy that? And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I don't know. You used a weird phrase. I'm just trying to understand it. But when people get upset about taxes, I don't understand it. Because it's never really my money. What? What did you just say, Gauruv? Well, let's say you make $100K. And then it gets taxed by we'll say 30%. It's an arbitrary number. It doesn't mean anything. So the government takes $30,000. There's some people in my life where they would complain about that. They'd be like, can you believe it? The government's taking $30,000 of mine. And I look at that and I think, well, that's not even my $30,000. That was never mine. How could you even think that? It's almost like people look at the gross salary that they get, right? Just needs a little bit of deodorant and then it won't be so gross. That's not funny. Okay. But they look at their gross salary and they're like, that's my money. And I'm like, it'll never be. And so that's why I don't understand when they get taxed, they act like it's came out of nowhere. They're like, awesome, one paycheck, please. And they're like, what's this? They're like, oh, those are taxes. They're like, okay, yeah. But why is it coming out of my money? They're like, well, that's not, yeah, I guess it is technically your money, but you're never going to see it. It's kind of like going along with more ice cream analogies. Imagine going to an ice cream shop and they have a 1 scoop, a 2 scoop, and a 3 scoop. But the 3 scoop has a little note and it tells you that if you order the 3 scoop, we're only going to give you 2 scoops. So can you imagine if someone goes to an ice cream shop, they order the 3 scoop, 1 3 scoop, please, and then the person gives them 2 scoops, and they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I must have been a mistake. Maybe, I'm working on taking accountability. My therapist and my kids and my wife, they're all hounding me on that. So I could be wrong here. Maybe I misspoke. I ordered the 3 scoop. You only gave me 2 scoops." And they're like, "Yeah, well, the 3 scoop only comes with 2 scoops." I'm sorry. Again, maybe I'm misunderstanding. What happened to the 3rd scoop? Well, we take it. It says on the sign, if you order 3 scoops, we take one. Right. But I ordered the 3 scoop. So where's my 3rd scoop? They're like, "I don't think you get it. I don't." If you order the 3 scoop, you're only going to get 2. Yes, but I ordered 3. Yes, but we take one. And we're upfront about that? Okay. Fucker, listen here. I want my 3rd scoop. It was never yours, man. It says up there. Everyone knows it. Everyone in front of you in line, everyone behind you in line knows that you're not going to get that 3rd scoop. Why are you acting like that was ever yours? Oh, now you're giving into the man, Gauruv, right? You're playing right into their hands. You're thinking, it was never my money, because it's not. Like, in no world, right? People say that thing, death, taxes, and whatever you want to make a joke about. But those are the 2 things, death and taxes. Taxes will always be there. There's no world without taxes. That's how we set this thing up. So it'd be weird to just, how people walk around acting like taxes are a new thing. Not a new thing, but like they came out of nowhere. It's like playing hide and seek with like someone that doesn't have, what's it called? Like object permanence, or what is it called? When babies, that's why you can play peekaboo with them. Because then when you cover their eyes, they're like, "Oh, fuck, where'd everyone go?" And then you open them, they're like, "Holy fuck." Oh yeah, it's object permanence. That's what it's called, right? Did I just say that? But that's what I don't get when people do that. It's you're never going to get that 3rd scoop. I think there's actually probably like a limit of scoops you can get, right? There's a certain point where you'll have to be taxed on your ice cream so much that really it's only possible to get like 40 scoops. Anything above that, right? There could be 100 scoop on the menu, but the most you can ever get is 40 scoops. And that's probably why, there should probably be no billionaires in the world. But that's not the American dream. I think everyone should have the hope to be a billionaire one day, right? And so I think, yes, there should be billionaires, but you should have to apply. You see, if you want to be a billionaire, you should apply early and say, "Hey, anyone can apply. You don't have to be a billionaire to apply." But the application works in the way that if you apply to be a billionaire, if you get approved, and the chance that you become one later, because it's random, right? People just hand it out. It's like a lottery. But if you, become a billionaire later, only if you applied for it early and got approved, can you become a billionaire. Because if you don't get approved to be a billionaire, then they take it away. I don't know who they are, but you're not allowed to become a billionaire. It's almost like you have the scoop rule applied to you, right? You can never have those 3 scoops if you don't get approval to be a billionaire. And I think if I were to apply, I think I would get it. Because part of the application process would you have to be able to prove that you would do something good with the money. Can you imagine? What would my case be, right? What if someone was asked, "Oh, you're approved to be a billionaire, but how did you get approved? What did you say to them?" "Well, I promised to open a steak store." A steak store? A store just for steak? Well, no, it wouldn't just be one type of steak. It would be all kinds of steak, but they would all be in the one store. Like there would be the steaks that help you pitch a tent. There would be the steaks that are meat, right? There would be a casino portion of the store. Those would be high stakes. And then there would be a grass-fed steaks, right? And it would be a certain type of grass, some of that Bam Bam, if you know what I'm talking about. And ironically, yeah, those would also be high stakes. So you would have steaks, high stakes, and high stakes. And yeah, I think if I applied, right, with that idea, I think I would be approved to be a billionaire. I think people would look at that and be like, yeah, if this guy stumbles across that amount of money, right, he goes on some crazy quest, some exotic jungle excursion and it happens upon a chest of doubloons, I think it's okay if we let him be a billionaire. I think that's okay. And so I think, yes, if you want to be a billionaire, I think that's okay, but you should have to apply. You should have to say that, you're fit, right? You got to apply to every other job in the world. And I feel like being a billionaire is a job because whenever you go out and eat with your friends, it's a tough job to convince your friends that, hey, let's do a rotation program. All right. Let's play the credit card game. Huh? Let's put our credit cards in a hat and then we'll pick one at random. Imagine a stingy billionaire. You go to get ice cream with them. Oop, third ice cream reference. Nice. But you go to get ice cream with them and they do the, ooh, where is my wallet? Shoot, I must have left it in your car. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it's in my jacket. No, this is a different jacket. See, my wife and I, yeah, we went to a 5-star Michelin restaurant. Do they even go up to 5? Yeah, for us, they do. But yeah, we went to a 5-star Michelin restaurant and forgot it in my coat there. Shoot. Can you get this one? It's $2.18, okay? It's $2.18. Do you want me to? Fine, I'll fucking pay for it. Sure. I'm just happy that you're going to Baskin Robbins with me, okay? Because you are a billionaire, but you're grounded still. And I like that. You're an everyman's man. Because you do stuff that we do. Like going to get ice cream. That's nice, right? But yes, you have to apply. If people have to apply for all these jobs, that's okay. That you have to make billionaires apply to. But the same thing with jobs, right? Some people don't have to apply. Sometimes they have a little insider secret. Like a lot of people like to hire internally. And with a billionaire, that's just inherited wealth. That's the parallel. The same way that you will hire someone internally is the same way that a billionaire will probably pass down billions to their kid. And the kid won't have to apply, right? It's built in. It's like it's royalty, How they do it over there across the pond. Same thing applies here. Billionaires rules because they're practically royalty. Yeah? Well, let's talk about the title of this episode, right? I talked about earlier in the episode, I had a hard time listening to this person complaining about their bad Disney Plus customer support experience. And I've already shown that I'm not a great listener. And there's something that I've been doing to try to become a better listener. And I don't like it. The thing I've been doing is I have been frowning more to show that I'm listening, and I don't like it because now I frown out of instinct, and I don't want to do that. I never used to frown. People would ask me ridiculous questions, and I would go, interesting. And then I would think about it. But unfortunately, working full-time has taught me that it's all about appearance, right? You got to put on the show. You got to be a good active listener, or else people will assume you're not listening. And by default, I don't have like a listening face. I have to really put it on. And it's the same way when I was learning how to drive. I remember my dad was sitting in the passenger seat and he would tell me, you got to look in the mirrors. You got to know what's behind you. And I'm like, I am. He's like, yeah, but your head's not moving. I'm like, yeah, but my eyes are. He's like, you think the driver driving like grader is going to know that? They're not going to see your head move. They're going to think you're not checking in the mirrors. He's like, so be really exaggerated with it, right? If you're going to check a side mirror, go like this. If you're going to look at this one, go like this. It's right there, right? It's right within your view. But you got to put on a show. You got to show them that you know what you're doing. I was like, okay. And I've applied the same thing now to listening. Now if someone asks me a question, I go like this. I immediately, out of instinct, go like this. And I don't like that. If someone asks me something, I'll go, It's like I'm motioning to you that I'm receiving your question, but I don't need to do that. Like if you ask me, hey, why are giraffes' necks so long? I would take that like this, right? Someone would be like, why are giraffes' necks so long? I'd be like, that's a good question. But now if someone asks me that, why are giraffes' necks so long? I'll go, yeah, that's a good question. I don't know why, but people in the workplace respond better when you frown. Yeah, interesting. And I don't do that, but I've started to. And now it seeps into my real life. You can't do something for 40 hours a week and not think it's going to plague the rest of your life, right? Or plague, sorry, that's has a bad connotation. It's not going to affect the rest of your life. There, that's a better way to say it. To not make work seem like a blight on your existence. But I've started doing this and I don't like it. And so I'm trying to correct it. It's the same way with this podcast. I notice I say certain things. There are a few things I say. The big three that I can pick out are I usually punctuate sentences by saying right, right. And then I used to say a lot, you know, I've kind of stopped saying that. And then the other thing I say is, I forgot what it is, but I always say it. I'll probably say it many a time in this episode and I won't even know it. Oh, it's this. The thing is, I always say that. Whenever I start a sentence, it's like a natural segue. I'll say, and you know, the thing is, and then I'll say the thing. But it's very apt, right? I'm not lying. The thing is, yeah, the thing. So I'm not lying. But I don't like that I say these things on repeat. I've also recently, I'm trying to put a cut, stop to this one immediately. But I've started saying I realize a lot. And I don't like that. Why am I doing that? But back to what I was talking about. I've been trying to be a more engaged, active listener at work, and I fear that it's actually hurting my real life. Because now people ask me a normal question, and I'll immediately go to a frown. And I don't want them, I feel like this is what are you upset at me? Why are you doing that? I just asked you if you think French toast or pancakes are better. Why are you meeting me with all this hostility? And I don't like it. I wish I could have healthy conversations about breakfast wheat, but unfortunately, yeah, I meet the conversation with a furrowed brow off the start, and I feel like it's ruining things. It's fucking up my vibe. And so I need to stop. I need to stop doing this. But do you do anything like that? Like, I know there's some people, right? It might even be because they're nervous. They might kind of like become a bobblehead and do a lot of this. And then they realize, oh, I'm not taking any of this in. But by going like this, I'm actively listening. I'm showing them that I'm listening. And because I'm so busy showing them, I'm actually not listening. So I need to, the first step is admitting you have a problem. And so here I am admitting it. I put it on watch and I'm going to try to be better. Because it's not a good look. It's too angry off the start. It's like meeting someone with the color red when they want blue skies. That sentence means nothing, but it meant like exactly what I was thinking. That made sense. Like, I feel like when you engage in a conversation with someone, right, you want like a baby blue mood to be met with, right? Or maybe like a nice light green, not a bright lime green, but a nice imagine a couch. This nice soft green color. You want pastel colors, right? That's the mood you want someone to meet you with. But when I frown, it feels like I'm meeting them with a very hot red, a hot pink, and it feels very aggressive. I don't need to do all that, right? If I was talking to someone and they were like, I'd be like, oh, did I fuck up? What did I do wrong? I'm sorry. But I couldn't possibly do anything wrong, right? Even though I just admitted that I'm doing something wrong. I do everything right. Like this podcast. This is a podcast that gets infinitely more successful every week, and it has been. Last week, great numbers. And I know this week they're going to be even better numbers because this is one of the best podcasts out there. I now can tell, and I think everyone can, when a car is electric, and it's because it looks like it has no soul. You look at an electric car and it has those pushed in door handles, and it has those very bright lights, and a lot of times it's like one joint light, right? They're all connected for some reason. And I'm like, did everyone that designed electric cars all meet in one room one day and say this is what they're going to look like? They're going to look like big metal boxes of shit. And I'm not just talking about a Cybertruck here. I know I do a lot of Cybertruck slander, but all electric cars, they look kind of weird. And it's because they have no soul. It's the same reason you're able to tell when AI art is AI. Because you're able to look at it and realize, yeah, a human didn't make that, right? An engine, right? A car with an engine, it feels like it has a soul. When it has a battery, feels very off, right? That's why when you look at AI art, right, it doesn't feel like there's a human behind it. It feels like there's a battery behind it. And there is, because it was a battery that powered the fucking AI that created that shit. It wasn't a human's hand. And that's what I feel like cars look like, right? Or used to look like. Not that all cars are electric now, but like older cars, they look more man-made because they were, yes, made by an individual, right? They were meant to be bespoke individual pieces of art. But now, yeah, they're mass producing these Tron mobiles, and people are eating them up because it's high tech. You can just call something high tech and be like, this is trending, and people will be like, yep, and that's why I have it. Like, what the fuck is high tech fleece? That's a jacket, right? This jacket's made with high tech fleece. What the fuck did that mean? Sorry, I said I wasn't going to frown. I just did it. But I wasn't asked a question, so that's okay. What the heck is high tech fleece, huh? I couldn't tell you what that means. Does that mean it was made by the sheep? I don't know where fleece comes from. I'm just going to assume it's the same thing as wool. Is it a sheep that wears a Google glasses? That wears a fucking Oculus? Is it a sheep with a VR headset? Is that where you got that wool from? We'll call it high-tech wool. Is that what it is? It's a high-tech sheep? It's a sheep that gets free fruit cups because it works at Google? What the fuck is high-tech fleece? But we just say this shit, and people in tech eat it up. They put that shit on. And they wear a collared shirt and khakis, and they're like, this is good, right? And they wear those shoes that look like dress shoes, but they're also athletic shoes. I'm like, what? You're not sure if you're going to fucking have a customer meeting or a pickleball match? I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore, man. But I don't like this. I don't like that you can just look at cars and know if they have an engine in them or a battery. Well, all cars have batteries, but if a car has an engine or is void of an engine, I feel like an engine is like a heart of a car. But it's not. It's really not. You can make electric cars that look cool because cars have looked cool. Just make those cars electric. But for some reason, when people make electric cars now, they're like, no, they got to look a certain way. I'm like, why? And I know why. It's because it's the same people that invent this technology that aren't creative. They have no taste in art, right? They go to a museum and they're like, what the fuck is this, right? See, I said right at the end of that. I punctuated it and I caught myself. I can't take away what I've done, but I can recognize myself and be better for the future, huh? Look at that. That's growth. Right? Fuck. But it's because it's these people that have never looked at a fucking painting in real life designing these cars, right? They think they just go to museums because that's what, the person they matched on Hinge would like. They don't want to go to that shit. There's a reason they've never been to one. They just take you there because, I saw a picture on your dating profile of you at a museum. So you probably like that, right? We'll go look at those inferior paintings. And then I'm going to go home and ask my chat bot how well my date went and ask it to create a bunch of AI art for me so I can hang that in my walls. Because it used to be NFT, right? I used to have Bored Apes hung up on my wall, but I sold them all. So now I'm going to replace it with AI art. I don't know what I'm on about, man. I'm just saying, if you're going to make stuff electric, if you're going to make stuff AI, don't make it so fucking obvious, okay? Oh, but it's fooling a lot of people. Yeah, okay, you're fooling the person that was on the phone for 8 hours with Disney Plus tech support, okay? But you're not fooling anyone younger than that. It reminds me of the how they turned Megatron into a fucking soulless, like, nanotechnology version of himself. I think in it was the third movie, right? Dark of the Moon. It was like Galvatron, I think was his name. That's what it looks like. Anytime I see electric cars, I think of how they made Megatron like nanotechnology, right? Who could like break himself apart and put himself back together. He was just basically pixels. That was the whole idea, right? I was washing my hands earlier this week. Oh, good job, guy. That's a first. All right, easy. I was washing my hands earlier this week. I went to dry them. I noticed a little bit of soap on the back of my hand, right? It was like right here. And I was like, oh no. I was like, how many times has this happened? Because maybe this time I caught it on my way to the towel. I was like, oh, a little bit of soap, a little bit of residue has made its way on there. And good for me. I could go back to the sink and wet it and really complete my wash. But I'm like, certainly, statistically, there's a high chance that I've dried off some soap that I didn't wash off beforehand. And I was like, oh no. I felt like a liar in that moment, right? Because I was like, am I not being thorough? Has the pandemic taught me nothing? Every public restroom has those instructions on how to wash your hands because apparently half the public didn't know that that's what you were supposed to do. Oh, both sides? Oh, interesting. But yeah, I felt like a bad person. I was like, oh no, if I'm willing to do this, right, not do my due diligence and be thorough when it comes to washing my own hands, then how am I treating other people? But I'm not even treating myself at the highest level. Then what kind of energy am I putting out into the world, huh? Maybe this is why I'm frowning when people ask me questions. Maybe I am a bad person. But yeah, it was a really sobering moment when I noticed that soapy foam on the back of my hand. I was like, oh no, what have I been doing? You know? It's kind of like when a player on a basketball team, right, they put up a real sloppy layup and they're like, come on, I'm better than that, huh? Am I not treating this stuff with the respect it deserves? It's translating directly into my game. Coach is going to certainly bench me for this one. Oh my God. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's because I've now done this podcast like 42 weeks in a row. I've been like struggling. I don't know what it is. This episode and the past two, I mean, it doesn't help that I record these things at like 1 a.m. But I feel like I haven't been able to like come up with stuff. I feel like I'm stuck in like some kind of fucking rut, you know? I just talk in circles about things and it's not very interesting. I feel like I listen to some of the older episodes, not like I just have them on, but I just listen to them and I'm like, I feel like these are very coherent thoughts. I feel like I haven't been coherent recently. And even these past two episodes, I started this podcast like 20 times, this podcast episode, like 20 different times, and then I stopped and had to redo it. I couldn't, I don't know what it is. I talked for like a minute and I was like, what am I doing? And I don't know. I've been stuck. I know I'm going to get out of it. That's what always happens with these things. You're kind of in a slump for a while and then you kind of catch your footing, you get right back on track. But yeah, I'm sorry. I'm kind of in a slump right now. But that'll happen. Even with one of the best podcasts on the internet, these things happen. And I was talking about, of course, my own podcast here. But I've been active with this podcast, with the main channel. And the main channel, I'm actually starting a new series, and I would love your guys' help with it. What I'm thinking for the new series on my channel, I've already announced it. It's in this video, I talk about it. If you have any drama or any work situations that you want advice on, right? If you want to let me know any drama that's happened or any situations that you don't really know how to navigate at your job, email me. Email me at gauruvvirk@gmail.com, and I'm going to respond to those emails on my main channel and give you advice, hear you out. The idea is I lost my work best friend in real life. He went to another company. And so now I have no one to confide in with stuff that happens at work, and it feels lonely. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm sure other people feel the same way. So I was like, I can be that space for you guys. And you can let me know what drama, what situations are happening at work, and I'll hear you out. Like I said, I may not be a good listener right now because of how much I'm frowning, but I'm getting better. And I think this will help me. So let me know. Email, gauruvvirk@gmail.com. And let me know any work situations you may be having trouble with. And I'll do my best to hear you out and offer advice if you need it. And I guess I can offer my own little advice to myself here, which is, hey man, stop recording this at Sunday night at 1 a.m. It's actually technically Monday. every time I record this. You hear that London episode? I'll give you a little behind the scenes here. The London episode of this podcast, 2 podcasts, I think, episodes ago. I was so nervous about recording that. I got ready. I sat down here at 10 p.m. I was going to record, and I was like, I'm not feeling it. I have a little headache coming on. Let me just wait an hour. I'll go sit on a couch. I'll just relax. In an hour, I'll feel good. And then in an hour in, 11 p.m., I'm like, oh, I'm a little tired. I couldn't do a podcast tired, could I? So then I was like, I'll take a 15-minute nap. That's it. Don't make it too long, like a 30-minute. Then I'll just be groggy. I'll do a 15-minute nap. And so I set my alarm for 15 minutes. And I'm like, ooh, I'm still a little tired. And I continued to set 15-minute alarms for the next 3 hours. I went to sleep for 15 minutes and was woken up by an alarm for 3 hours straight until finally I bit the bullet and was like, Garv, you need to record this fucking episode. And I think at like 3 a.m., yeah, I finally got it together and recorded that podcast. It's fucking nerve-wracking. I don't know why, recording these things, because I feel like I have an idea of how these things are going to go, and I'm so nervous that they're not going to be good. And I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time. I don't want anyone's time to be wasted, right? So I hope with this episode, I didn't waste your time. And I promise this next month, I'm going to be very busy. I already know, like, in the next 6 weekends, I already have plans for 4 of them. And so I got to be efficient, right? When I go on vacation, I record episodes of this podcast ahead of time. So I'm going to need to be just as responsible for this upcoming month. And so hopefully that'll mean you get better episodes. I hope so. I do hope so, for both our sakes. And for both our sakes, make sure you keep supporting this podcast. You leave a like, you leave a comment. Pretty please. Subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. Email gauruvvirk@gmail.com, and I will talk to you next week. Okay?